Ye- First off, Anthony, good to see you. Appreciate you coming on. Um, so with that, want to start out, Anthony, by kind of sharing more about your journey. So obviously, you've had a incredible journey from Navy SEAL to business founder. Can you just walk us through that story and kind of the turning point that led you to create Vetavize?
Sure, that was a couple questions. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for providing this opportunity to share more of the Vetavize story so that way many veterans can get access to it and understand more about what we're doing. So Vetavize actually started back, if you think about it, when I transitioned out of the military back in 2017. I went and tried to figure out, like, how do I engage with my federal, state, and nonprofit benefits that are directly applicable to me as I transition out of active duty service. And I was alarmed that there was no standardized process path that got me off of the active duty train and onto the veteran non-service train, right? So I just went to process work and built my own process, executed on that process, and that was the origin story of Vetavize. I got access to all my federal, state, and nonprofit benefits, and it was as effortless as it possibly could have been by using a ton of effort, right? So, like, you build that house the first time, it's difficult. You don't know what the schematics are supposed to look like. So then I iterated and improved upon that about 7,000 times from 2017 until about 2020, where I was helping as many veterans as I possibly could. During that time, I was working at Amazon, so I transitioned out of active duty service and then started working for a small startup company called Fan Hero. I did that for about a year and then transitioned over to Fan Hero. And I'm sorry, transitioned over to Amazon. When I was at Amazon, I would just get introduced to tons of veterans. And that ended up kind of transitioning just very seamlessly into, like, how do I help you do what I did? Right. So it was a very manual process. I just realized that I had the same conversation and education process path 7,000 times, and it yielded tremendous results. So I ended up, shutting that down. I was working with nonprofits to try to figure out how do I get this information out there as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So shut that down and then started Vetavize around late 2020, early 2021. And then went to, game plan mode. And then from there started building a legitimate business plan of how do we build a product, especially during the AI boom of, like, wow, this stuff can actually work. And it is working right now. And now we have a legitimately launched, successfully iterative product that is in the market and helping out veterans at little to no cost.
Amazing. So tell us, what exactly is Vetavize and what does it do for veterans?
So Vetavize is a artificial intelligence and automation tool that helps veterans gain ease of access to all their federal, state, and nonprofit benefits. We work with employers, and those employers pay for our product as an HR retention tool and an HR recruitment tool for current and prospective veteran employees. A lot of veterans don't know this, but when an employer asks the veteran community in the transition period of recruitment, when they ask that veteran prospective employee, like, hey, are you a disabled veteran? Most veterans say no, even though they might be, because they are afraid that their answer is going to disqualify them for the job. Where in fact, by them affirming that, if it is so true, saying, like, yes, I am a disabled veteran, I do have a VA disability rating, the employer gets to participate in what's called the work opportunity tax credit. And that currently right now is about a $9,800 tax credit that the employer gets by hiring a disabled veteran. So the employer is incentivized to bring these disabled veterans onto their workforce. So we're trying to educate the veteran community, make that as seamless as possible so that way they share that information and they understand the highly employable nature that they are. We also work with nonprofits that are already servicing the veteran community, of which there are about 40,000 nonprofits that are registered within the IRS that are raising money for active duty and veteran service members. And each one of those has multiple programs of record. So how is any one veteran supposed to know, of those 40,000, which ones are specifically for me? So we have made an automation tool through the use of our artificial intelligence that weeds all that information out and then gives that veteran, of those 40,000, let's say that these 500 are specifically for you and your family. And we push that to them and try to get them as many resources as possible. So we work with the nonprofits. The nonprofits pay for their veteran community to have access to Vetavize, and then employers. Veterans can pay for their own access to Vetavize, although that is not the intention. In fact, as veterans go through the onboarding experience on Vetavize, they are asked, would you like to wait? And we will work as hard as we can to find you a nonprofit partner or a charitably minded individual that's going to sponsor your license. So they get that opportunity to wait. And generally speaking, it takes, 5 weeks to find a sponsor.
Awesome. And then when you first launched Vetavize, what problem were you most determined to solve for veterans? And then how did you know this idea could actually work? It seems like you were a product of your solution, but
Yeah.
dive into that.
Yeah. So, you know, I did in my transition what a lot of veterans don't want to do, which is, get buried in the bureaucratic nonsense of the federal government. And then in doing so, I got exactly what I was deserving of, getting these service connected conditions all affirmatively service connected. Now, since 2017, 2018, there's a new industry that's out there, and these are called claim sharks. And these are businesses that charge veterans tens of thousands of dollars for them, these businesses, to, in most cases, illegally represent the veteran on their behalf. And they operate in a very, very gray area, right? So like the state of Florida just made it illegal for these businesses to operate in the state of Florida without paying a penalty or a fine, leading the way like Florida has done, especially over the last 7 to 10 years. So this industry that's out there, what I'm trying to do is trying to crush that industry altogether that's taking advantage of our veteran community. Then there are the legitimate, well-minded, kindly-hearted people that are out there, the veteran service officer community. These are free resources and individuals that help represent the veterans. Unfortunately, they're just using archaic technology, if they are using technology at all, and they can't keep up with the demand, right? So like, just quick numbers, there are about 8 to 10,000 veteran service officers in the United States. There's 19 million veterans. So how are, let's say at best case, 10,000 individuals supposed to service 19 million? That's impossible, right? Especially with the lack of technology that's out there. So we at Vetavize are attempting to make their workload much more efficient and effective, so that way the veteran service officer community can service exponentially more through the use of our technology.
That's a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then to kind of to sum it up for veterans now, for any veterans listening, what are 1 or 2 things that veterans often overlook in the VA process that can make a big difference in their results?
Well, so I was speaking real briefly about the 19 million veterans. I think the first thing that most veterans overlook is starting, right? So there's 19 million of us. Only 6 million are integrated into the VA. So 2/3 don't even engage with the federal benefits that are directly applicable to them, because in most cases, A, they don't know where to start, or B, even if they did know where to start, they don't know how to navigate the process to be able to get to a potential finish line, right? So I like to equate it to, you're trying to hike for the first time and you're at the base of Mount Everest and you don't even know what hiking shoes are. So you're like, this looks way too big. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to take the first step. So what we have created at Vetavize is what we describe as a Sherpa. So that carries all your gear. It plans your route for you, carries all your food, lets you know when you're going to rest, when you're going to wake up. It makes that first time hike exponentially easier, right? So that's the first thing, is just starting. The second thing is, veterans that do attempt to, so I'm talking about that 6 million that do attempt to engage in their VA disability benefits, or if state benefits or nonprofit benefits, generally speaking, they'll get overwhelmed and they'll just quit, either 1/10 all the way to 90% done, right? So that kind of sticking point of like, it's feeling too overwhelming, that's when veterans just give up. So it's the first sticking point is like, I don't want to start because it seems too big. And the second sticking point is I started, this seems way too complex for me. I'm getting all these letters in the mail and, these emails. I'm overwhelmed. I'm out, right? So that's the second one. Vetavize solves that problem as well by educating the veteran throughout the entire process. So that way they become an educated and an informed customer in that experience.
Love that. Love that. And now let's talk about AI with Vetavize. So Vetavize is using some AI in some innovative ways. Can you just give a quick snapshot though of how it works and what kind of impact that's making?
Yeah. So Vetavize, we created a artificial intelligence that helps veterans directly connect their evidence and their complaints to whatever federal benefits are directly applicable to them, right? So there's, these government documents, bureaucratic documents, thousands of pages each. And we took that and said like, all right, well, here is the standard, these government documents. Here are the individual variables that have to fit within that standard. So Vetavize measures the individual against the standard and then directly fits that into that puzzle piece together. So that's kind of at like a very high level what our artificial intelligence does.
Excellent. And kind of switch gears here, but every business has its breaking point, right? Their breaking moment. Did you ever encounter one? And if so, what was it?
Yeah, it's a startup, so there are breaking moments every single minute of every day.
Putting out fires?
Yeah, yeah. It's the there's a common saying, teamwork makes the dream work, right? Um, our team is phenomenal. We support one another. We get through these difficult conversations, get through these difficult trials, and we support one another. We lean on one another, and we can communicate honestly and effectively with one another so that we can make sure that the business is operating efficiently and effectively. So, yeah, it's really the team. So like the technology is awesome, but really it's the team. Team is everything.
Team behind it.
Mm.
Tell me more. Is it a small team, medium, big, or?
Yeah, it's a small team. So we have uh 3 to 4 like full-time people that are me included that are fully devoted to Vetavize. And then we have a outsourced development team that's constantly helping us make our product better as we iterate and improve upon it. And then, we have all the users. So I think of the users as part of the team as well, because they're providing us feedback openly and honestly so that we can iterate and improve upon that product. And then we have our partners, right? So like the businesses, we have the nonprofits that are out there. They're also part of our team because they're the ones who are jumping out on a limb saying, this makes a lot of sense. I believe in it. I believe in you and your team. Let's just jump in and solve this together. So I believe that, nonprofits are essentially like a stopgap or a segue from these ideas that are out there to becoming more standardized and scalable and then indoctrinated into the federal system.
Are there any recognizable businesses or nonprofits that you kind of are partnering with or working with?
Yeah, so the very first big business that we partnered with was the Altamont Springs, city of Altamont Springs, under the leadership of Frank Martz. So he's the city manager. He found out about us back in February, and then in late March, early April, we met in person. And he's like, "Yep, we're going to do this. We're going to provide this product to our veteran employees, and we're going to use it as that HR retention and HR recruitment tool." Since then, he's opened a ton of doors for us. We have now grown into, now we have Vetavize programs in airports that are, municipally managed. We have Vetavize in sheriff's departments. We have Vetavize in multiple cities all over the state of Florida and continuing to expand, all as a direct result of Frank Martz's initial partnership. So I can't say enough nice things about him. Like, he is absolutely incredible. Another nonprofit, well, 3 nonprofits that really kind of jumped in and led from the front are the Seal Future Foundation under the leadership of Jared Arnold, he's the head of the programs at the SEAL Future Foundation. They jumped in and like, yeah, we're going to try this out and support you and just see how this works. And they've been absolutely incredible. SEAL Future Foundation. Another one is Rockin' with the SEALs under Patty and Ziggy. So they are an absolute stud team that raise a ton of money to help the veteran community out. And they were just like, yeah, we raise money. Here's $30,000 worth of licenses that can be sponsored. We're on the hook for that, and we're going to keep doing that. So that was incredible. And then the third is the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund, Semper Fi and America's Fund, and they gave us a pretty sizable grant up front to just keep the business going as we were raising money entrepreneurially. And that was absolutely incredible. And they've been massive supporters and advocates for us.
Awesome. And then when talking about Vetavize's growth, what was the first revenue milestone you set?
Yeah, the first revenue milestone to set was like, yeah, let's make $1.
Make our first dollar?
Let's make our first sale.
Well, tell me about that.
Yeah.
How hard was that?
Yeah, so like everything, the first time is always the hardest. It's trying to figure out like what is the pitch, right? So like I have my understanding of what the pitch is, and you fumble through it. You're like, I thought that this was going to be the one thing that was going to close that deal, but I was way off, right? So then you have to listen to the customer, figure out like, all right, what was it that really kind of got you in on this product or program or process? Listen to the customer and then iterate and improve upon that in the sales cycle, and then condense that, right? So it was the first sale was the friggin' hardest, and now it just keeps getting easier and easier. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination right now,
Sure.
but it is getting easier as time goes on.
Absolutely. And then what's the largest milestone you've reached so far?
So the largest milestone reached so far, there's two, right? One is very early on this year after launching the product to the veteran community. I started networking with a bunch of congressmen that I had made acquaintances with and was friends with in the military. These are all veterans. And, I got them to support Vetavize. They saw it and they're like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. The private partnership between private sector and government it makes a lot of sense. So in, I believe it was March or April of this year, we were invited to a town hall where Vetavize, through the support of the congressman, Corey Mills, he spoke very highly of us and our partnership. And the person doing the town hall was Doug Collins. So he was the head of the Department of Veteran Affairs. He had just jumped in. So within a year, right, well, actually within 8 or 9 months, Vetavize has launched a product, gotten congressional support, and has been exposed to the head of the Federal Department of Veteran Affairs. And then just this week, I was asked to speak to the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs and all the veteran service officers in the state of Florida. So now state leadership of the second highest veteran population in the United States is fully aware of Vetavize, and they're engaging with us. So these are massive wins that don't happen on accident, right? I'm a Christian, so I think God has a divine plan for all of us as long as we stay faithful.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just trying to stay as faithful as I can to Him, give all credit and glory to Him because He is the author of my life, and I know everybody else's life, they just don't know it yet. So yeah, I couldn't have opened these doors. God did, right? So those are two massive wins.
That's great. That's great. And then being Navy SEAL, I'm sure you learn a lot of principles. What's one principle you use in your business today?
Oh, there's multiple.
You have a favorite?
One is like, yeah, one that I kind of live my life by is, it's never going to be easy, right? It's always supposed to be hard. So how do we just deal with that? If it's hard, that means it's good. You're supposed to be doing it. If it's easy, you better turn around and jump on that hard train. So that's just one huge one.
Absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong, the big Navy SEAL saying is the easiest day was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's one decision you've made that completely changed the direction or momentum of Vetavize? Anything come to mind?
Um, yeah. So like one big one was kind of coming out of my shell, right? Like I'm a very private person. I don't want to be in the limelight. I don't like social media at all. I understand there's value in it. I don't have any social media besides like a LinkedIn page. Um, so once I started, jumping out on a limb and being like, all right, well, I'll hop on these podcasts. I'll do this stuff. It really did catapult Vetavize into a larger audience base. And it works, right? So like you can spend money on marketing or you can spend time sharing stories, and the sharing of stories, generally speaking, has a larger impact and greater movement potential.
It's great. I believe in that as well. And then last two kind of quick ones. As you look ahead, what's the vision for Vetavize?
The vision for Vetavize is to solve the veteran customer experience at the federal, state, and nonprofit level, repositioning veterans not as people that we as Americans are intended to give gratitude to, which I think that's the current, climate, which is awesome, right? But I want to shift it from that over to how do we view the veteran as a high quality customer so that we can provide high quality customer experiences for them. If we have that shift, I think that would be absolutely incredible. And that's what Vetavize is attempting to do.
Now, on a personal level, what's the 10-year goal for Anthony Rivera?
10-year goal. So I'll be 50, 51. Um, Man, so my kids will be 26 and 25. It's too early for grandkids. Hopefully it's too early for grandkids, although I had kids when I was 24. So yeah, if in 10 years my kids are looking to my wife and I as the consultants that we can be used as, if I'm able to be a representative of God's limitless love and light, and if I'm able to serve others in any capacity, that's always going to be good. I'm not promised tomorrow, but if I make it 10 years from now and I live by those three principles, I think I'm going to be winning.
I'm into that. And clearly you've made a big impact for veterans, and you want to continue to do so. So if every veteran in America could hear one message from you right now, what would it be?
Use Vetavize.
Couldn't think of a better way to end.
Hell yeah. Tell everybody, tell the veteran community, tell the nonprofit community that you want Vetavize used. Tell your congressional leadership that you want Vetavize adopted into the federal Department of Veteran Affairs, and then at the state level, yeah, that'd be it. Use Vetavize.
There we go.
Mhm.
All right. That's all on my end. So
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. This has been absolutely incredible.
yeah, this was awesome. Thank you for your story, and thanks for the impact you're making, Anthony.
I appreciate it.